So when we're referencing posterior anterior side of this diagram, the anatomical, am I spelling right? A-N-A, oh my goodness. Sorry guys. I'm thinking it faster than I can write it. Anatomical position. There are some key things that I want you to write on your sheet. What's that key thing about the palms of the hands? Which position? When you're looking at the anterior and the posterior side, which side is the palms on?
Anterior.
Anterior. Good. So the palms are facing forward. Are the feet, toes pointed out or inward, or are they straight?
Straight.
Straight. So feet are straight. And the head, is it turned a little bit so that we can kind of make note of certain things on one side or the other, or is it also straight?
Straight.
Okay. So looking straight, palms forward, feet straight. And are we standing or are we laying down?
Standing.
Standing. Okay. So when we flip to the anterior side of the body, what are some items that are located on the anterior side? We gave some examples for posterior.
Pecs.
Pecs, perfect. What else? Eyes. Good. And our knees. Okay. And remember, you already put a little star and you wrote boxes. So know the boxes. The quiz is this Friday the 11th. You do not come to class on Friday. You will come to the Google Meet and you will meet with me so I can get your note for attendance. And then after that, you are free to complete whatever work and quiz. Folding this piece of paper in half, kind of the long way, turn the fold to the left. Write your name and the date right up here in the top corner. Top corner, name and date. All right, so if we kind of think back to the last week or so, we've been talking some about different terms and different directions of the body. And for Friday's quiz, we are going to both do the page we just talked about with anterior and posterior, but we're also going to be doing some quizzing on the abdominal pelvic region. So I want everyone to do your best, okay? Your very best. It's okay if you're not a perfect drawer, but go ahead and try to draw this. Do your best.
I just want to make sure I'm drawing it right, so the creases don't.
Crease on the left. Exactly. Crease on the left.
We don't
Kind
draw
of-
it big. Do we draw it big?
Kind of like a, yeah, just the date is fine. Today's 9.
No.
9/9. Miss P. And so
Do we draw
you're,
the circle big or a little not that big?
I would make it kind of big. This is like my reference of my paper. So you can kind of make it pretty big. Okay, and then have a little space on the side, kind of maybe where you started your name. Go the opposite way. Okay, and when we talked about the different body cavities, we had cavities that included 2 different ones, where we had the pelvic cavity, which is down at the bottom, and the abdomen, or the abdominal cavity. So towards the bottom of your paper, I want you to put pelvic. And then up here in the middle, abdominal. And then I want you to take a little arrow, connect the two words, and then come with another little arrow up here. And now we already have a drawing where we know the abdominal area and the pelvic area together make up the abdominopelvic area. Right about the middle between your two lines that you drew, make a little kind of dash line from the top down to the bottom. Mine's kind of got a little curve to it. And when you're talking about the body in the directional terms and that medial or sagittal intersection, along here, this is the midline. When we imagine an imaginary line cutting right down the center of our body, this is your midline. And right in line with your midline, there's a couple of different items of the body that follow that line. One of which is your nose, which is centrally located. The other is your belly button. And then your sternum, right in the middle. So closer down, is your belly button going to be up here on our drawing or closer to like down here?
Right there.
Perfect. Okay, so make a belly button. And then I want you to think about, when we talk about the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord was the opportunity while you were growing in the womb to receive nutrients, food, blood, all kinds of things to build your body to what it is now. When you were born, the umbilical cord was cut and clamped. And maybe 3, 4, 5 days later, whenever the rest of the umbilical cord dries off and it falls off, you're left with one of two things, an innie or an outie. Who's an innie? Who's an outie? All innies? Yeah, okay. So we've had a big discussion about that. So I want you to think about the belly button as the opportunity that when we say, oh yeah, transverse, that belly button is where we're going to do our transverse plane, and it's the one that divides the body in what we have as an upper and a lower two planes. And remember how Ms. P remembers transverse is the top of the T, then it comes down, and these are my legs, and I think about, oh yeah, TV, transverse, transverse plane. Okay? So when we think about the transverse plane across the line of the median line, which divides the body, and the sagittal plane that cuts the body into two equal right and left sides. We also now know that we have these areas can be labeled further with more detail, which is the whole goal of anatomy and directional terms, and if you're doing a dissection. So, side note and reference, if I were to come to you and say I'm a patient or your mom or your neighbor, and I'm like, I have pain like right here it hurts, like I'm laughing in class too much, or I have pain right here, I was late to class, and I was running, and like, I did something right here. Those are two completely different reference points that could incorporate totally different things happening. And then sometimes if we don't know all the parts, we might say, oh, my stomach hurts. But your stomach might be gas, which would be a lower quadrant concern. Or you might have just ate way too much food at lunch, and your stomach that's up here might be very full and tight, giving you some uncomfortable feelings. But all in all, we already know that this is the lowers and this is the uppers. Something else that we already know, when we're referencing any sort of anatomical dissection, images, all those things, we know that we have to give the directions in detail. So if I said, Diana, tell me how to get to Starbucks. Do you know how to tell me where to go to Starbucks if you don't know where I'm at? We have to have that reference. So I'm here, you're gonna go, say if I say go to the restroom, that's a good reference right now with all the directional stuff at school. So you're gonna go out, take a left, take 2 lefts, keep walking towards in the hallway to find the restroom, okay? So this is my patient, my subject, my dissection, and go back to like being 6 or 7 years old and your mom said, go in the pantry on the left side and bring me the goldfish. Oh yeah, left, right. You remember left, right? I tell my kids all the time, this one makes an L, this is your left. But when we're talking about our patient, it's reversed. So what side is this of the patient? Right? Perfect. So put you a big old R over there. What's this side? Left. Perfect. So now, okay, we know where we're at, where we're going. This is right. All of this is right. So this must be right. All of this is left. This must be left. And then, anybody ever ride a quad runner? 4-wheeler?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay, quad runner. Why is it called a quad runner?
There's 4.
Yes. Bicycles have 2. Why? If I was a tricycle. Okay, so quads, really fun, really fast, have 4. Quad, 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 quad. Okay. Everybody with me so far? Okay, cool, cool. So as Miss Polly said, all right, for the quiz, draw the abdominal pelvic region and label the 4 quadrants. You can do that. A couple of things to just make an additional reference for yourself. Right here above this area, this is going to be that, well, I want to think about Thor. All I can think about is that YouTube video with the guy showing Thor with his shirt off. Thoracic. Thoracic region is above here. Right? And in the thoracic region, we have your heart and your lungs, the pleural, and the cardiac regions. And then we remember that right below that, if you take both of your hands and you kind of find your sides and you run up your rib cage, that's kind of where thoracic ends, abdominal starts, and then it goes kind of down a little bit, kind of like if you were in hot shorts, like the little shorts underneath the dress or something. Okay? About this area is going to be your abdominal pelvic region. And we constantly reference certain things. So one of the couple of terms we had was distal or proximal. We also talked a little bit about lateral and medial. And the difference between those two, if you're doing proximal and distal, that has to be a relationship where you have two different body parts that you're referencing. Like my hand is distal to my head because we're referencing two things. Most important. But when we're talking about lateral or medial, we're just talking about in reference to that midline. Okay? So this could actually probably be drawn a little bit opposite. I'll change that. But lateral is anything that goes which way? Towards the midline or away from it? Lateral. Towards or away from the midline?
Away.
Away. Perfect. And then medial is towards. Okay? So right up here, you're going to make a little arrow. Lateral. And then opposite, medial. Based on the references, the midline.
Just a reminder, if you have JBH, CTE, 5th, 6th, or 5th, 6th, 7th block, you need to be in the front of the school.
And then now you're just going to open up your page where you did your original drawing first. Open it up so that you see that line down the middle of the paper. Opening your paper, dotted line down the fold. And again, I know you can do it. We need some hits. And I need that Shakira song, Hips Don't Lie. If I could cue that right now, like Mr. B does all of his fun musical stuff. I'm barely being able to do the video part here, but I'm sure this will be very helpful. Okay, so now we have a bigger version in drawing. And so I could say that pain up here was up in my left upper quadrant. Or I could say the pain that I had down here from running to the other class was my lower right quadrant. But in all of our opportunities with anatomy and physiology, it's about being very, very specific. Directions do like a turn by turn. Thoracic region separates the abdominal area from the pelvic area. So over here on the side again, I want you to put pelvic. And up here I want you to put abdominal. And together, both of these put together equal the abdominal and pelvic region. And so we already said that when we think about that imaginary line, which is the fold of our paper, and we know that the belly button is closer down to the pelvic region versus up here by our lungs and our heart, we're going to reference the belly button. And what is the name of that cord that provides you nutrients while you're in utero? Umbilical. So umbilical region. The region specifically at the belly button is the umbilical region. You can't tell me where I'm going unless I have a reference, a point. So on my drawing, which is my right side?
That's the first one.
Perfect. And the left side is over here. Okay? Who plays or has played tic-tac-toe? Who wins always because you have the strategy down, depending upon the opponent that you have? My son always focuses on just making all the X's where he wins. He doesn't think about how to stop me. Whereas other times, how about always ties with somebody? Strategy, right? Okay, so imagine a tic-tac-toe board. Take your belly button and go out about halfway between your hip and the belly button and make a little dash. Maybe a little too far. Kind of halfway between. Okay, and then between this belly button and the right side, make another little dash. And then below the belly button and above it about the same distance. And then now connect those lines and extend them all the way on both sides of your drawing. Okay. So the reasons we want to get very specific, going from just the quad, the 4-pack of description, to the 9 is very specific reasons, because in each of these areas there are very specific organs that gas pain would normally be kind of lower, and stomach on full pain would be more in this upper region closer to the thoracic region. We know that the umbilical cord is what connects us and gives us life, and that is the label for the center. Pick a color and fill in your umbilical region with a color. Doesn't matter what color. Okay. Now, later in this class, colors will become very important. Blood that's oxygenated would be marked red. Deoxygenated would be blue. Pee is yellow. Poop is brown. Everybody poops. So, when you eat food, it goes where? Where does your food go to after you eat it? Perfect. Stomach or your tummy, just for reference. Tummy, and inside your tummy there's all kinds of stuff. Some stuff in there is actually like acids and different things that we'll talk about in the next unit. It starts breaking down your food and your body being able to process it. So I think about the tummy and I think about all the stuff inside there that's going to be, after my mouth breaks it down, after the saliva in my mouth adds to it, it goes there, and then now there's lots of things, and sometimes food gives you gas. So this region is called the gastric and has a prefix that was on your student note packet, epi. This is the epigastric region. Epigastric region. And then pick a color, doesn't matter what color. Color it all up. Perfect. Everybody still with me so far? Okay. We said that the lower part of the two different body cavities that go together, the two different holes in our system that holds a bunch of stuff inside of it, the lower part is the pelvic region. We talked about how it's below, down, kind of right at the top of your thighs. Anybody want to guess what this region is? Pelvic region. Give it a color, doesn't matter what color. right, and then if we wind back in our minds to the directional things, I want you to imagine again that line on your body cutting you right down the middle. And I want everybody to wiggle your little toe, that little tiny toe on the outside. The other day we talked about that toe is further away from your midline. Flip your page over, look on that first page we did. Away from the midline is called lateral. Towards the midline is called medial. Take both hands, right even with your belly button. Put them right on both sides of your body, like this, kind of where your pants go or where your belly button is. This is the lateral region. And I'm the patient, I'm the drawing, I'm the dissection. This is my which side of lateral region? Right, okay? So you already know everything over here is on the right side. So you can go ahead and have half of the answer by indicating the label and specifically right, right, right. And it just so happens that the label for, oh man, I need some more colors. I don't have enough color. Okay. The name of this region right here is called the right lateral region. Double wow. Lateral is away from the midline. This part's away from my midline. This is on my right side. What do you think this one is? Left. Left lateral region. And if you were to guess, do you think this and this also has a matching pair to this and this? Okay, so this will be left and this will be left. Someone can be just a timekeeper. We go to lunch at 12:05? What time is it right now?
11:40.
Yes, okay, I'm doing all right. Could probably slow down just a little. All right. So now we already know quick references, belly button, umbilical region. Our tummy's up here, it's got gases in it. Sometimes we eat food that gives us gas, epigastric. Our pelvis is at the bottom of the abdominal pelvic region. That is the pelvic region. When I put my hands on the side outside of my belly button area, these are the lateral regions, the right and the left. Up here is also paired. Down here is also paired. Anybody have an aunt, family member, friend that they always have they think something's wrong with them? They've already checked WebMD and they already told them and they got a tumor and they've got to go to the doctor, just always something, and they're always doing research trying to figure out what's wrong with them. Maybe you know one, maybe you don't. That word is hypochondriac. Somebody who constantly thinks that there's something wrong with them. Hypochondriac. Also, some of our pre-terms we'll kind of dig into as we go. Hypo and hyper are reference words. Hyper, hypo. And then every part of this, when we're naming the abdominal pelvic regions, just like in math, when you have a problem, you don't just write the number for the answer. What does the answer need to have with it? A solution. And say the questions about prions or markers or whatever, your label. So right hypochondriac region, left hypochondriac region. Okay? Pick the same color for these two quadrants, doesn't matter what color it is. Fill those regions in, both of them same color. And then somewhere on your page, make yourself a little key. Make a box, fill it in, stay in the lines, and write hypochondriac. Okay? So if Miss Polly said on the quiz, draw the abdominal pelvic region, make the 9 label boxes, and fill in the regions of the abdominal pelvic regions. You could already write in umbilical cord, umbilical region, pelvis, pelvic region, gas is in my tummy, gastric, epigastric, all the rights, all the lefts, lateral sides. My aunt that's a hypochondriac. So right now you've got like a 90. Doing great. So how much do we really have to memorize? Because you are already going to be able to use association on these. Okay, so this is the only one that's kind of got kind of a funny name. ING UINAL. Inguinal. Inguinal region, because we have to have a label. Everything on the right and left for the quadrants and the regional terms are paired. So over here, we have the left inguinal region. And then pick a color, doesn't matter what color it is. Paired. Same color, right and left. Make yourself a little key. And then the same thing for your 2 laterals. Pick a color. And a key. Just like that. So overall, we can say quad runner has 4 wheels. Tic-tac-toe, we have 9 boxes. Based on the reference terms that we already know, we can fill them in. Got to remember hypochondriac, inguinal, pelvic, epigastric, and umbilical. If you have an additional color that you haven't used at all yet, I don't think I need this one. This one might be harder to see. Turquoise. At the belly button, remember that's how we reference that plane called the transverse plane. Cuts the body in an upper and a lower section. So when we look at upper lower versus left, right. Follows that midline again when we're just doing the quads. And in this upper region, right, right, all this is that right upper quadrant. All this right lower quadrant. Opposite side, left lower. Up here, right. Whoops.
Left.
There you go. Got all excited there. Left upper quadrant. Kind of incorporating the 4 and the 6. The regions towards the midline, away from the midline, that we know is the abdominal pelvic region. Thoracic is above that. And we have paired key labels. Paired, same, paired. Left side, because we're looking at the subject, the dissection, the patient. How do you feel about that? Cool? Show your neighbor what you did.